modern golf coaching is about manipulating the club into positions.
Right.
Set your wrists here, do this, do that, all from looking at slowed down swings. And the reality is that it acts upon you. And I'm sure we'll touch on this a million times this afternoon, but there's a great part of it about, a lot of golfers obsess over the hand action and what they're doing.
Sure.
And that, the reality is that they're moving in the exact opposite direction to where they should be moving. They should be moving towards doing less.
Yeah. Well, I think, what I found when I was playing for a living, and I'd begun to get worse every year, the more I tried to introduce what I would call movements, or a series of movements, the worse I got, because it took me away from the game. That's one reason not to do it. The other reason is that it's really difficult to know when do I do that movement. If I've got 3 or 4 movements that make up my golf swing motion, I might think, okay, I need to cock my wrists, and then I need to turn my shoulders, and then drive my hips, and then turn through. That's about 4 things right there. When do I cock my wrists and for how long? When do I turn my shoulders and for how long? How long do I drive my hips for, and where do I drive them to? And then when I turn through, have I turned through soon enough, too late? It's all just random. And I just don't think in this game we can afford to make it deliberately random in that way. So I know that the majority of golf instruction is instructions of how to move. And so right away I'm just saying I don't think any of us are good enough to play our best golf doing any of that. So I do think that there needs to be a shift away from the mechanics of how to swing and look at the game itself, because all these mechanics don't really fit the game. They might look good when slowed down if you can stand there in a setting like this, indoors, and work those swing mechanics. You might make a better looking video of your swing, but does that really fit the game if you're having to then go out there and manage all of that as you're playing a golf shot?
I think the interesting thing is it would only ever produce a better looking, there would be stills within the video that somebody might perceive as better looking,
right.
but at normal speed it could never look right, because it wouldn't be dynamic, it wouldn't create as much power as it should, and all of those things would only ever randomize the results.
Well, that's the way I feel, which is why I teach what I teach, where I don't really believe in mechanical or thoughts and movements. I believe in no movements. It's just whatever motion. So you could take someone who doesn't necessarily have an enormous amount of athletic ability or strength, but if they make one motion in one spot, I believe that's their best chance to play good golf. So I'm not going to try to interrupt that with the thought of how to swing. As we'll get into later, it's really a game of where you are anyway. And I really just see the swing as just being energy to put on the ball, and where we are is what aims it. So going into the idea that I have to get somewhere at some point in my swing, that I have to do something different, a movement, is always going to detract from my ability to play the game. And that's my own experience, and it's been my experience with some very good players, some tour players who have gone down a road of these movements and mechanics, and it's taken them out of the game, and they can't wait to get back to just doing a motion in one spot and going and playing the game with that.
Yeah. Well, it's fair to say that approach has robbed us of some of all-time's great players and shortened a good number of careers.
Yeah, I think that, I never got to a certain level before I began to destroy my career. But recently, working with Mike Weir, he's certainly an example of somebody who, and he's never given up. He's still got his card, but because he's a fantastic golfer. But his career's definitely taken a downward turn, because I believe he went in the wrong direction in what he was working on. And he's not the first. By no means is he the first, and he won't be the last to do it.